Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Rob Kearsey is a marketing expert specialising in social media marketing. He started his business RMK Marketing during the pandemic, and he credits his success partly to networking. Thank you very much for being my podcast guest today, Rob.
Thank you for having me, Liz. I'm really excited.
So you're a social media marketing specialist, but have you always worked in the marketing sector, or is it something that you've come to more latterly?
I have always worked in the marketing sector, actually, yeah. So I actually did a broadcast journalism degree at university, and a lot of that actually was radio. I used to host a radio show on the university radio station for 3 years with a couple of my friends. It's called Tone Sport. The radio station was called Tone Radio.
Yeah.
And so I've always kind of loved that medium, and it's how I got into social media really, through sort of the radio medium, because my first job in social media was actually working for Absolute Radio. For one of their, I managed the Twitter account of one of their shows, Rock and Roll Football, which was back then hosted by Ian Wright. And I used to go up there, and you'd have kind of the scores coming in for the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and then you'd have Ian Wright coming in afterwards doing the doing kind of the phone-ins and stuff like that, and I used to run the Twitter account and go up there every Saturday, and that's kind of how I got into social media. And then from there I moved and worked with a travel company, TUI Travel, and then I worked for a media agency, and then I went back into travel, and then the pandemic hit, and obviously the travel industry fell apart, and then I decided to start RMK Marketing, which is my social media marketing agency, basically because I've always wanted to set up my own business. I've always wanted to do that. And I thought, I can run an agency because I have a background in agencies, and I have the knowledge, the social media knowledge to go with that.
And so, how did you find it starting up in a pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of weirdly. For most people, it would probably be the worst possible time to start up an agency or a business, because nothing was really happening. But for me, it was kind of the perfect time, because I had I just left the job, but I'd left it for reasons pandemic related. And I had a bit of time to kind of work out what I wanted to do. But I mean, what I'm doing now and what I did when I first started is almost completely different. The amount of stuff that I've learned since then, I think has taken what I do to a completely different level. But it was actually in a weird sort of way. I don't think I ever would have done what I did had it not been for the pandemic. So in a way, it kind of very weird way it did help me.
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few people in that kind of position where suddenly they found themselves out of work or furloughed, and with time on their hands to decide what it is they actually do want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the situation that I found myself in. I was kind of, do I want to try and find another job, or do I want to try and give this a go? And I decided to give it a go, and here I am.
Yeah. So what was your business like when you first started then? You said it's been through a lot of changes since you first started. What was its first iteration?
So, it was kind of getting my feet under the table and sort of taking what I'd learnt from my other jobs and kind of putting it out there into my own business. At the start, it was very much, I didn't really know how to kind of bring on clients. I didn't really know about networking, if I'm honest. I wasn't really aware of networking and how networking could help you build a business. It was very much I'd find work via these sort of online portals like People Per Hour or Upwork. And that's how I kind of bring on new business. But over time, I started being brought into networking groups and going to networking sessions, and to be honest, that is kind of the main way that I would bring on business now, is through the connections that I've made through networking.
Yeah. And so what sort of services do you offer your clients?
So I offer both organic and paid social media marketing. So organic social media marketing is basically the management of the channel. So that is creating content for your LinkedIn's, Facebook's, Instagrams, etc. And then the paid side is running paid ads. So that is running campaigns to generate more sales for a fashion brand. That is bringing in more leads for a financial advisor. That is increasing brand awareness for a travel brand, and targeting specific people, getting them to the website and getting them to kind of perform these actions. So those are kind of the two strands of social media that I do. I also do one of the things I like doing, and I kind of have more power to do it now that I'm running my own business, is really helping people understand social media. I think through networking, that's something that I've definitely found, that there are people have a lot of questions about social media. They don't really know the ins and outs of it, and that makes them very apprehensive.
Yeah.
So I do like to try and put on webinars and workshops and training sessions to help people get more out of their social media, even if that doesn't mean kind of bringing me on to manage it. Giving them kind of the direction to do it themselves and make a good go of their social media activity.
Yeah. And so who are your clients? What kind of businesses are you helping? Are they from any particular sectors, or is it a wide range of businesses?
It's a really wide range of businesses. So I work with fashion brands on their paid social media activity. I work with I've got a big background in property and construction. I've worked with IT companies, I've worked with financial advisors, I've worked with magazines. It's a real broad swathe of industries, and I've worked with brands across the globe actually, which is weird. When back when I was kind of working for media agencies and other companies, I was very much kind of UK focused, but now I'm running activity for companies in Africa. I'm running activity for companies in Canada. So it's a real broad swathe of companies and territories essentially.
Yeah, I mean that's the nice thing about being a digital business, isn't it? That you can work literally for anybody anywhere.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah. It is weird that I could potentially be working with someone in Australia in a completely different time zone, and it just there's no real kind of material. I can run that relationship effectively. I think the days where we all need to be sitting in an office in order to kind of do work successfully together are definitely over.
Yeah. So do you cover all the different social media platforms?
I do, yes, I do. So I cover Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube. Whenever I'm listing those channels, I always miss one out. I always forget one, but I don't think I did there, which is good. But yeah, I run activity across all of those channels. I mean, it's interesting because through networking, especially, I've found a lot of people who kind of specialise in one channel. You've got sort of LinkedIn coaches and Instagram specialists, but I've always found that I'm an all-rounder. I have my knowledge base is in all of the channels, and I work across all of the channels, and I really enjoy that actually, because I think it keeps it fresh. There's always something new coming out on one of the channels, which you kind of have to get your head around, and yeah, it keeps things really fresh.
Do you find that the clients ask for one platform more than others? Is that one that you tend to do a lot more work on?
So it's interesting you say that. We're in a very interesting place at the moment in social media, where for years and years and years it would be Facebook, where you would do the majority of the work. Now Meta, running activity across both Facebook and Instagram. But now I think it has become much more diverse in terms of what clients are looking for. I'm running activity on LinkedIn, done some stuff on Pinterest and TikTok. This year, it really is kind of it's not just siloed into Facebook and Instagram anymore, like it was even a year ago. It's much, you are running activity across a much more diverse range of channels, and clients are asking for that. Years ago, people may not have, asked to kind of run activity on Pinterest, for example. It's something that I would have to suggest, but I think, brands are much more open to going off of, to running activity, not just on Facebook and Instagram.
And so what are the current trends that you can tell us about on social media? What's kind of working at the moment?
What's working? So, I mean, the big trend at the moment is TikTok. I mean, that is the channel that is really growing, and people are really gravitating towards. I think as I said, we're kind of in an interesting space where TikTok is now almost becoming sort of the market leader, but you've got Facebook and Instagram which are trying to kind of compete with that and beat them essentially, and they're trying to do that by kind of following TikTok in terms of short form video. I can remember talking to people from Facebook years ago who would say short form video is the future, and I think they're right. Unfortunately, TikTok has kind of stolen the march on Facebook, and they're now sort of thought of as the kind of short form video platform. I think from a paid point of view, last year there was a big change on Facebook where the iOS 14 update, the Apple iOS 14 update came in, and that meant that audiences on Facebook were a bit restricted from what they used to be, because people could opt out of being tracked on the platform. And that did cause some issues at the time. There were audiences and tactics that you used to use that weren't necessarily working then. I think we're now at a place where Facebook has kind of got to grips with that, and the impact of that has lessened through some of the I think behind the scenes changes that Facebook are making.
Yeah. And so what sort of businesses are coming to you and asking for help with TikTok, and have you noticed a shift in the kind of businesses that are asking for that platform?
So, I mean, obviously the fashion brands and the e-commerce brands, their place is definitely on TikTok. They are on TikTok, and it's a channel that I would always recommend for brands like that. But I think, to be honest, it's becoming a lot more broad. Gone are the days where TikTok, you can consider that a channel where it's just teenagers dancing. Which is, I still get people saying that, but that is definitely long gone. The channel is much more broad now in terms of its demographics, and in terms of the types of clients that can run activity on them. I've seen all sorts of clients run ads on TikTok. There's tax companies who are running running ads on there. You could potentially look at financial advisors could potentially run ads on TikTok if they got their creative right. I think TikTok is a channel where, to be honest, the vast majority of companies could run activity on there as long as they get the content right. And I think that is kind of the next stage, that some of these companies they're used to creating certain types of content that work on channels like Facebook or channels like YouTube, they kind of have to get the kind of the types of creative that work on TikTok right, and that's kind of where they're going to have to think about that.
Yeah. So how would you say that companies can make use of social media in terms of their networking and keeping up with their network?
So I think LinkedIn, especially, in social media, they kind of go hand in hand. It's so important that when you are networking after the meeting, you save the chat in from the meeting. You go through, you click on all of the LinkedIn links that people have put in there, and you connect with everyone. And then once that connection request has been accepted, you then set up one-to-ones. LinkedIn, to be honest, is the gateway, I think, to having better connections
Yeah.
with those people that you're meeting in the networking meetings. I find, to be honest, I don't tend to email people after a networking meeting. I will always go to LinkedIn. I will connect with them on LinkedIn, and then I will speak to them on LinkedIn and talk about a one-to-one. Doing that means that they're then part of your network. They will then see your content, and then even if they aren't going to kind of buy from you or use one of your services straight away, they are still going to see content from you. They're still, you're still going to stay front of mind for them. And it might mean that 6 months down the line, they are in a position where, they do want to use your service. They do want to buy your product. And then they go ahead and do that just through you adding them on LinkedIn. You may be having a one-to-ones with them, but then, them seeing your content over the course of months.
Yeah. Now, as you said earlier, you started your business during the lockdown. So how did you go about starting to build your network when things were kind of so restricted?
So to be honest, I as I said earlier, I was very new to everything, how to set up a business, how to, bring on clients when you're a very, starting out agency. And I think for me, it was earlier this year really where I decided that I was going to really branch out in terms of networking. I was just going to go and do as many networking events as possible, just go along, see if I liked it, and then if I liked it, keep coming back. And I think that's probably the advice I would give to people is just try as many networking events as possible. I know networking can take a lot of time, but you will build up your followings on your social media. You will meet lots more people, and I think having that real personal connection with someone, it's a lot better than kind of coming in cold with someone. You're much more likely to end up getting business from them than kind of coming in cold. So I think really kind of be open-minded, try and go to as many networking meetings as possible, and then have a networking budget. I do have a networking budget for how much I can spend per month on ongoing networking. And if I can add to that budget, then I'll go to kind of more networking meetings. But I think the key is there are so many online networking meetings at the moment that there's kind of no real barrier to building up a good network. And to be honest, that is, I think, quite different from when I started even 2 years ago. I don't there definitely I don't think there was as many networking groups then as there are now, and that I think obviously has been spawned by the pandemic, by this move to online, real online working, not office-based working. So I think the networking landscape is pretty completely different than what it was even 2 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. Do you go to in-person events as well?
I do go to in-person events. I don't tend to go to them as much as online. Just I like the fact that you can go to. You've got, I guess, volume with online networking. It doesn't take as much time to have to go somewhere and you're there and then you've got to come back. That takes quite a lot of time out of your day, whereas an online network, you log on, you're there for an hour, you do some you add people to your LinkedIn and you do one-to-ones. That's kind of 2 hours out of your day, whereas in person can take a bit longer. And I think you have to be a bit more mindful of when you have that during the day. I don't think I would go to many in-person events sort of during the working day, just because I'm working and I've got stuff to do. So it then means you kind of have to either go in the morning or the afternoon. But I'm definitely open to it. I can see the benefits of in-person meeting, because again I think it's kind of, in terms of developing those personal relationships, it's kind of another level up. If you meet someone face to face and you have an actual conversation with them. I think the problem with that is just the time. The time it takes to do that.
So how much networking would you say that you do in a week or in a month?
I try and have probably 2 or 3 networking meetings a week where possible. So normally about 12 a month. I'd say that that's kind of about the number, and I think that's the amount I can kind of handle at the moment. I think it's, for me, it's done, wonders for kind of, increasing my visibility, and just, meeting lots of great new people.
Yeah. So what other things have come out of networking? I mean, obviously clients, but have you got anything else from it?
I think as I mentioned, my kind of profile has grown when I really made a conscious effort to do more networking. My followers on LinkedIn have increased, a huge amount, and that's something I've definitely got from that. And I think that then opens doors to, not necessarily to sell to people and for people to come on board as a client, but to really help people, and answer questions and stuff like that. And also, there's people that I've met through networking who I'd consider friends, who I've got to know quite well, and whether they're a client or not, whenever I have a conversation with them, it's quite nice and informal. We talk about the football, we talk about the cricket, we do all those sorts of things, and it's just when you're working, primarily on your own, when you're sort of home working, it's nice to have those personal connections still, because the one thing I do miss about an office is the personal connections that you do build with your team. But it's nice to kind of still have those personal connections through meeting people via networking.
Yeah. So you're a couple of years into running your business now. What plans have you got for the future of RMK Marketing?
So, what I would like I'd just like it to grow, basically, to bring on more clients, bring on more diverse range of clients. I think one thing I'm really keen to do in the new year is bring on more travel clients. Travel is a industry that's very dear to me. I've worked in that industry for quite a while, and I know how much that industry has suffered due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm really keen to kind of help businesses where possible get back on their feet, because it's a fantastic industry to work in. The people in that industry are great, and I think that's kind of a personal goal. But I think in terms of a business goal, I just want the agency to grow. I want to be able to help more people, which is why I'm doing more webinars. I've got one coming up on the 17th of November, which is about paid social media marketing. My aim is to keep them free where possible, just so people can kind of come along, have a forum, they'll learn something. They can also ask questions about social media, and get their queries answered by an expert.
Brilliant. So if people want to find out more about you and your business and any free webinars you're running, what's the best way for them to find you?
So the best way to find them is by LinkedIn. That is, to be honest, the best way to find me. I'm sure you'll be able to find me, Rob Kearsey, on LinkedIn, or if you search for RMK Marketing, then you'll be able to find my company page. So that is the best way to find me. Please do also come along to my website. It's rmkmarketing.co.uk. We've got loads of case studies and testimonials on there, which will give you a flavour of the type of work we do and the type of results that we can produce.
Lovely. Well, thanks very much for chatting to me, and good luck with everything that the future has in store for you.
Thank you very much, Liz.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.